Today we're in the 2019 Volvo V60. This is the T6 all-wheel drive Momentum. We have a very funky, but I think weird enough to be cool cloth interior with this unique pattern. It's very bright, very airy, very nice in here. I do really like this car. If I were going to do a new Volvo today, this V60 might be the way that I would go, right next to the new XC40. Let's take a look around. I absolutely love the way this thing looks. I feel like a broken record. I've said this about just about every new Volvo that's come out in the last few years, but something about the designs, the Thor's hammer headlights, the wheel choices, these hard, sharp lines, and just this overall gorgeous design language that they've adopted is really, really seducing me. Pretty impressive stuff from Volvo, and this is no exception. The only criticism I have with this particular car, I'm not too crazy about this color, and the interior is a little bit weird, but that can all be fixed with different options. So, the V60, it's the wagon. It's probably the way to go. The Volvo S60 was nice a week ago, but this just adds so much more practicality, and to boot, it looks really, really good. We have a smaller spare tire underneath here, plenty of area to put stuff. We can fold down the rear seats with a push of a button. You have a cargo cover, a nice square, low loading height, and you even have a button to lock the whole car from the tailgate. Pretty trick stuff. I'm so glad that Volvo is still bringing station wagons to the United States. In the back seat, this is nice and spacious here thanks to this new chassis and new platform. Before, you used to be able to get into an S60 or a V60 and there just wasn't enough room behind yourself, and that is definitely not the case here. So I have a ton of legroom with the front seats set to my 5'10" driving position. It's very spacious, incredibly comfortable back here. You have this massive panoramic sunroof that adds to that airiness. A couple of cup holders. This is a really, really nice back seat. You even have a rear vents as well as rear seat heaters. Little cigarette lighter port. Tons of legroom, plenty of headroom. Very comfortable back here. Show you guys a view of the front seat from here. As spec'd, this V60 is just under 55 grand. Pretty pricey, but it's pretty loaded. It has just about everything you'd want. It has the supercharged and turbocharged inline 4-cylinder, making 316 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Made it to an all-wheel drive system with an 8-speed transmission. Yeah, just gorgeous. All right, let's hop in, go over a few things on the inside, and then we'll take this for a drive. Here's a good look at the key fob. Plastic exterior instead of wrapped in leather. So, these seats, you still have a little Swedish flag right here, which is a nice little party piece. Fantastic amount of comfort from these seats as always. Volvo just gets it right. You have a ton of adjustability in your driving position, and makes for a really nice positioning behind the wheel. My arms, they fall perfectly to these armrests. I wish all manufacturers would do this. There's a great place to rest your arm up here if you want to hold the wheel. It's just very comfortable. The driving position in this is spot on. They really nailed it. Everything, all the ergonomics, everything laid out here is almost identical to every other Volvo on the market. You get into one Volvo, you get to know it, you know them all. They're all the same, which is, I think, is kind of cool. We have a beautiful frameless mirror up top, controls for that panoramic sunshade and sunroof. It's a little bit of a mystery how many times this gets pressed and what gets done up here, but that's okay. We have a ample sized vanity mirror there. Fortunately, no extendable sun visors, but it does have pretty good coverage. Same infotainment as in all other Volvos. The more I use this, the more I get used to it, and the more I like it. You can control everything in here. I do wish we had some buttons and knobs for climate control, but once you get to know it and you get your settings set, it's good to go. It'll even remember if you've turned on the heated steering wheel and the heated seats in a previous drive, which is pretty awesome. You have your drive mode selector down here, stop assist or auto brake, where if you're just come to a stop, let off the brake, the car will hold the brakes until you hit the accelerator again. Kind of a nice feature if you're in a lot of stop and go traffic. Yeah, we're going to get into the sound system. It's pretty impressive. It sounds pretty nice. We'll do our audio test with that. Otherwise, pretty much the same story. Really distorted, weird-looking backup camera. We have a 360 view, forward-facing cameras, the works. Gives you lines, everything you need. All right, let's take this for a drive. So I've put a couple hundred miles on this week. This is rated by the EPA to do 31 miles to the gallon on the highway and 21 in the city. I've averaged right in the middle there at about 25 miles to the gallon with some hard driving in there. So you have no problem reaching those EPA estimates. My trip computer said I was right at 31 mpg on the highway, which is right on the money. This is one advantage of a lower, sleeker, more aerodynamic car is you can actually get pretty decent gas mileage in one of these for how much power this puts out. I think the real argument for the V60 is why buy an SUV if you can get into this? It handles better, it's more efficient, it's better looking, easier to place, and more fun to drive. If you need the extra ground clearance and extra height, I would wait for the V60 Cross Country that comes out in 2020 into the United States. But until then, I mean, if you don't need the ground clearance and that extra ride comfort, this is really the way to go. Let's give you guys a little bit of a pull. I do really like this powertrain. Just in normal comfort drive mode, it responds really well. This 8-speed does everything that you ask of it. It's a really, really good transmission, and this engine has plenty of pull, plenty of torque. And on startup, there's even a little bit of an exhaust burble. No sounds that are fake and piped in through the speakers. You do even get a little bit of exhaust sound if you roll down the windows. This particular car has the 4C active chassis, so a lot of electronics figure out wheel speed, steering angle, all these parameters, and couple that with these adjustable dampers, adjustable shocks that kind of make these adjustments on the fly. So you're going hard into a corner or you're driving over a bumpy road. Basically, it translates to really nice handling and fantastic ride quality. In comfort mode, the ride quality in this is great. It's actually quite a bit softer and a lot smoother than the V60 or the S60R design I had a couple weeks ago, which is definitely a welcome improvement. That was just on the edge of being a little bit too harsh, in my opinion. This strikes just a perfect balance in between. It's awesome. More grip and more cornering abilities than you would ever need in a day-to-day situation, and it has the ride quality to back it up, even with these Momentum 19-inch wheels. So let's throw it into sport mode here, or dynamic mode, and see how this does around some corners. impressive turn-in. Once this car sets, it really starts to hook up and give you a lot of grip. It's not exactly a playful chassis, but it has a lot of mechanical grip, and it does a really good job communicating what's going on with the front end. Alright, I think we can set back to comfort mode here and calm down. Also, this car handles really, really well just in regular driving modes. And comfort, it's fantastic. Let's hit this entrance ramp and merge onto the highway, and we'll get into this radar guided cruise control and the pilot assist. You can feel just a little bit of brake torquing there, letting that rear end come around that tight hairpin. That was actually pretty cool. Amazing. This new V60 and S60, they handle so well. It's such a fun chassis to toss around. All right, guys. So pilot assist and the cruise control. This is maybe one of my favorite systems out there, just because it's so easy to engage. All you have to do, just press this cruise control button, and it'll assume the speed that you're at. You can press up or press down for 5 mile an hour increment increase or decreases, or hold for 1 mile an hour increment increases or decreases. Pilot assist works really well. You engage that by just scrolling over, and you can disengage it by scrolling back. It gives you a decent amount of time to maybe take your eyes off the road, fiddle with something in here in the screen, which you'll need to do quite often. The pilot assist really only works when you're on the highway. Otherwise, it doesn't really do a very good job on back roads. But it does a nice job keeping you centered in the lane. There's none of this bouncing back and forth. And it's a really good system that in the real world works great. You do need to stay attentive though and pay attention and catch it if it does something funky, goes off on an entrance ramp, or when you're merging onto the highway. These systems are meant to assist, not to take over. And that is one issue that kind of pops up, is that you rely on the reverse camera, you rely on the park assist, you rely on the pilot assist and all these systems to do a lot of the driving for you, and I think as a result we tend to kind of take a little bit of a back seat. But this car, I think, strikes a nice balance with that in keeping you safe and also making it enough of a fun driving experience that you do want to take control every now and then. I'll find myself only using pilot assist when I really need to take my eyes off the road and work with something here. Speaking of which, let's do a little audio test. It sounds awesome, even at low volume. Tons of fidelity, nice deep rich basses. Going to something classical. Same story here, just a beautiful sound system. And at highway speeds, this car's really quiet. It's really smooth. Not a lot of wind noise, not a lot of road noise. It's very refined, very nice. Some entrance ramps here. I do like this heads-up display. It tells you the speed limit, how fast you're going, cruise control information. Now we're just in comfort mode here. This thing has so much grip. Brakes are really good. However, I'm noticing just a little bit of a vibration under hard braking that's increased over the week. This is the second Volvo that I've noticed in that recently, so that might be a little bit of an issue. Of course, the other time that I noticed it was in an XC40, and that was at the racetrack. So probably pretty understandable that you're not using it in its home environment. Putting this into eco mode will just make everything a little bit more efficient, from the climate control to the stop-start system. To sum this up, you know, this is a really, really great Volvo. It's pretty amazing what they've done to refine this and bring the level of quality down from their higher models into the V60 and the S60 and the XC40. This feels as quality of a car and of an item as anything else that they've made right now in the higher end of their model lineup. You know, the infotainment's marginally faster, marginally quicker. The more you use it, the better it is to use, and the more you get to know it. It's nice that everything is contained right here within a couple of swipes and a couple of button presses. There aren't any deep menus. Nothing's hidden really far into anything, which is very nice. I'll give Volvo credit for that. I would like some buttons and knobs for climate control, but ultimately it does the job, and you do get used to it. Luckily, the climate control does work well. If you keep it at 72, it'll keep the car at 72. You'd also have this auto climate here that you can set, which is pretty useful. As a daily driver, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this. I think you know, this strikes just the right balance between being really fun to drive, comfortable, practical, beautiful, and good looking, but also safe, and you get a little bit of that specialness from this being a Volvo. Alright guys, well, let's wrap it up there. That pretty much sums up the V60 for me. You know, in my opinion, if you want something that's just a little bit more sporty, more fun to drive, this is the way to go. If you want something that's a little bit softer, has some more ride height clearance, and maybe some more off-road capability, the V60 Cross Country coming out later next year or later this year is probably the way to go. I think you know, this platform makes for such an enjoyable driving experience, even over the crossovers and SUVs, that it's probably worth it. I'd still be a little bit torn between this and an XC40, but as it sits, you can't go wrong with either one, really. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Any owners, feel free to chime in on your experience thus far. Great cars. I love what Volvo's doing these days, and I'm glad they've kept up with this design language. I think this latest iteration is one of the best they've ever come out with. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in another video later. Take care.